Alrighty, hello everybody. Welcome to our weekly Team Passion call. It is Monday night, January 18th. We are off to a great start this month, so very exciting. That Success Club video looks amazing, so I hope you're all on it. If not, get to work. Um, really excited for tonight's call. So I kind of did a poll, what do you guys want to hear about? And a couple time management came up. So instead of me training on it again, because I'm pretty sure there's about 4 videos in our YouTube Team Passion training channel that is time management. But here's the thing with time management. Here, I'm gonna start this call with everybody always wants time management training, but chances are you just haven't implemented a system that you've learned about yet. Right? So if you think about it, you really just haven't given a system a good shot, right? Like you have to make sure whatever system you develop for yourself around time management, you have to do it. You have to do it consistently, and you have to follow through, and you have to just stick to it. I know life will get in the way and things will go crazy, but the key to time management is doing the system and using the system. But we have a perfect guest to train on this topic because, like I shared a few times in the Team Passion page, Cindy, she'll share a piece of her story to start, but when she first came on the team a few years ago, I remember reaching out going, who is this Cindy chick? Because she was pulling in like Success Club 23, 18, 25, and I'm like, whoa, out in the middle of nowhere in Oregon, did it right. They made fun of me when I went out there. I said Oregon. They're like, what? No. So they taught me Oregon. And so and she has 4 boys, and her husband is military and a police officer. He does like both, and he was deployed sometimes and just not home on the weekends, and where she worked full time, and she was hitting Success Club 20s. So it is safe to say that she needed to get her time management under wraps, and she did so. So without further ado, I am super excited to introduce Star Diamond coach, Cindy Lebel.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk, and especially about this topic. When Nicole posted for people to help out and step up, this topic just jumped out at me because I kind of think I am a perfect person to talk about it, because this is one of those failed forward moments for me where I really have learned some interesting things to get myself on track because I failed over and over and over again with time management. So I want to start off by just sharing a little bit about my story. Nicole shared bits and pieces, but our team's growing so fast. There's a lot of people that I don't know, so I'm assuming they don't know me. And it'll give you a little bit of perspective into what I've gone through to get time management under control. So I've been a coach for just about 2.5 years. And as Nicole mentioned, I worked full-time as an executive assistant, 40 plus hours a week, actually. During our busy season, it was 45 to 50. I have 4 boys. Their ages are 11 to 15, so they're all packed together, and they're older. And little kids are busy, and you're busy mom, but when your kids get older, you drive a lot. You spend a lot of time in your car driving around. So what I found was I was working. I'd get off work at 5:30. I would pull into my driveway, and my kids would meet me in the driveway. And then we would drive to soccer practice and taekwondo practice and scouts and church activities and anything else that they had going on. It was pretty much an every night thing. And many nights we wouldn't get home till 9 o'clock at night. So when I started coaching, I was just a discount coach because I was too busy to work. That was my go-to excuse. However, the Beachbody Way, I started getting great results, both physically and my energy level was higher, and people noticed that, and they were asking me what was happening. So I fell in love with Shakeology and just openly shared about it because it was something I was excited about, not with the intention of moving a business forward, just with the intention of sharing something that worked for me. And the side effect of that was people wanting to do it. So I tried to pawn them off on my coach, and she said, no, you have to do this. So I decided to coach and figured I'd make it work. How hard could it be? I'll make it work. And what I realized right off the bat was I was failing. Being an executive assistant, organization and time management's vital in your job in order to get everything done. And so I had my business at work life in line, and that shined a glaring light on the fact that my coaching business was failing because I was barely keeping my nose above water. I was doing the 3 vitals every day and I was getting everything done I needed to, but I was working myself to death. So I knew I had to make some sort of change, and I reached out to coaches and just any resources that I could find that would help me with this. So I want to share 8 tips that I have come up with over the last 2.5 years. And so this is something that I went online, researched it, talked to some coaches, and implemented 8 steps. This is something that's been a 2.5-year process for me, and I'm still implementing new things all the time to tweak it and make it work for me. So 8 tips that I think you can implement tomorrow and start improving time management immediately. That's something that I've picked up from Chalene Johnson. Is I love to be able to go to a training or listen to a video and walk away with something that I can just immediately start doing. So that's what I'm trying to provide tonight. So the first tip I have, and the first 2 I think are the most important with your time management. Everything else that I'm going to share feeds these first 2 tips. And the first one is to have set work hours. We all work throughout the day from our phones, answering messages and responding to people, but you can't run your business like that. You have to have set, committed work hours that are set for you to move your business forward. And grow your organization. So when I started, I didn't have that. I was working on my 10-minute break at work, just responding to people that were talking to me, and it wasn't a smart way to work. I was working really, really hard, but I was not working smart. So I sat down and looked at my schedule and said, okay, after talking to coaches and kind of figuring some things out, I knew I needed to set aside 2 hours of time every day. If I could set aside 2 hours, I could manage this. And so I looked at my schedule and I said, okay, where can I put 2 hours? And what I realized I had to do, this is when I was working full time, is I was going to have to wake up a half an hour early every single day and work for a half an hour before everybody was awake. And then I was going to have to spend my lunch hour at work working. So no more shopping on my lunch hour at the mall. It was sitting back down at my desk. Luckily, that was something I was able to do, and work from my desk for an hour. And then at the end of the day, after I got my kids into bed, I would work for another half an hour. And that was how I set aside my work hours. This did 2 things for me. This was a huge thing for me. The first thing that it did is it simplified my frantic. Instead of frantically trying to respond and work my way through all of the requests that are coming my way and feeling like I had no time, because I had set time aside, I knew I was going to be able to get to that. So it immediately took frantic and stress out of my life. So when a message would come in at 10 o'clock and I'm working, I didn't have to freak out thinking I can't get back to them, I'm working, because I knew I was going to have some set time at noon to respond to them during that scheduled work time. So, and then the second thing it did, this was an interesting little side effect for me, is that it allowed my team to know when I was going to be available to them. So they could either wait for me to get back to them and respond at that time, or what ended up happening most times is it made them go out on their own and answer their own questions or find answers to their own questions, because they didn't want to wait an hour or 2 hours for me to get back to them. They wanted their answer now. So FAQ or other coaches on the team started coming into play, and it was taking more stuff off of my plate. So I had more time to respond to my business instead of answering questions for other people. So that in turn, I started encouraging that more. So set work hours are vital. You absolutely have to have those. And it goes beyond just saying, I'm going to work 2 hours a day. You need to write down those hours and when they're going to happen. So then that leads me into my second tip, and that is to have a plan. So I had set aside the work hours, and I was so proud of myself. I'd solved my problem. My time management was going to be amazing now. And what I found I was doing was sitting down in my work hours and wasting so much time figuring out what to do. I would figure out what I was going to do, and then my time was gone. And so I didn't get anything done. So the next thing I did was have an agenda for when I work. And what I have, I should have brought it up here with me, is a laminated to-do list of the things I do every single day during my power hour, which, they're going to be the same every single day. I have it laminated. I check it off with my dry erase marker, and the next day I can wipe it off and do the same things over again. So those are the things that never change. Shalene Johnson helped me immensely with this. She is, I think, time management guru. So a lot of what I'm sharing, I learned from her. So write it out. This goes along with your work hours. You're writing your work hours down. You're also going to write down what you're doing. Have it on paper. It can be in your phone. It can be on paper, whichever you prefer. I'm a paper and pen kind of person. For example, I'm going to share when I started, my work schedule was a half an hour in the morning. And in that time, I would post in my challenge groups and check in with my challengers. So my daily posts would go in, and then I would go in my challenge groups, see how everybody was doing, see who wasn't responding, check in with them personally, and get that taken care of. Then on my lunch hour time, I would do my invites, which I have already identified ahead of time. I'm not sitting down going, okay, time to do invites. Who am I going to invite? I sit down and say, okay, I'm going to do my invites, and I've got these 3 to 5 people already identified, and I'm sending invites to them. So you're not wasting your time trying to figure out what to do. I think for me personally, looking back on it, that's where I wasted so much time, was figuring out what to do. So having that game plan written out will save you a lot of time. So I would send out my invites. I would send out 10 friend requests to people on Facebook. I would follow up with all the messages that had come in from the previous day, check all my other messages. I would check in, and I'd post on my team page, and then I would check in with my coaches, and then I would check in on my back office. One thing I am pretty much anal about is checking my back office. I'm constantly checking my volume, calculating my cycles, calculating where I need my next coach to go to make cycles the most. So I spend a lot of time in my back office, but that was one of the things I would do in my big chunk in the middle of the day. And then in the last half an hour at the end of the day, this is, for me, it was after 10 o'clock at night. I have older kids, so I'm putting kids to bed 9:30. So 10:30 is when I would do my last half an hour. And that was, again, just kind of a wrap up of the day. I would check back in on my challenge groups and see how my challenges were doing. Did everybody do their workouts? Did everybody post? Check in on the people that didn't. Interact on Facebook. I used literally, I have it scheduled into my workday that I will go on Facebook, comment, private message people, just friendly stuff, not business related, but it makes me more relevant to them. So I have that scheduled into my workday. And then return messages, check in with challengers, and then I would prepare my to-do list for the next day. That's the last thing I do at the end of my day. So one thing I wanted to just point out on this tip is that you might notice, and I hope this doesn't sound selfish, but my workday, and it still is set up to first focus on me and my business and my recruiting efforts, and then focus on my coaches and helping them move their businesses forward. One mistake I made at the beginning of my business was I built my team, stopped worrying about my business, and focused on helping them build their businesses. And something I learned was that if they're not worried about building their business, you can't be worried for them. So you really need to focus on constantly recruiting and pushing your business forward. And if you make that your priority, then the rest of the time you have left over can go to your coaches. So focus first on you and then focus on them. Okay, so tip number 3, as much as possible, remove distraction from your work time. So this goes right back to step one, where you've set aside that work schedule. And this is something I was very resistant to, that Shalene Johnson shared with us at Smart Success. And honestly, I thought it sounded completely stupid and completely impossible. But because it was Shalene Johnson and I paid a lot of money to be there, I decided I was going to at least give it a shot. So I did. And so put your phone in airplane mode. And I know someone on this call right now is thinking, I can't do that. Yeah, right. That's not possible, because I thought that. But if I can do it during my work hours with 4 kids and a law enforcement husband, you can put your phone on airplane mode for 45 minutes. So just do it. Turn off all your alerts, turn off your email alerts, use single tab computer screens. Don't have 5 tabs open at the same time. Just remove. Focus on your agenda that you have set aside for your work. Turn off the TV, turn off the radio, turn off the background noise. I put my dogs outside because without fail, when I sit down to work, my 75-pound dog jumps in my lap and thinks it's cuddle time. So obviously, distractions. So when you do that, here's what I noticed when I implemented this. The first time was like nails on a chalkboard. It was impossible. The second time was like nails on a chalkboard, and I was getting very discouraged. By the third, fourth time, you're creating a habit. And this is a learned skill, like so many other things that we have to do in this business. Now, I actually look forward to turning off all my alerts, and my brain has learned that is work time, and I get 10 times the amount of work done in that time frame that I do in all the rest of the work I do all day long. So I turn everything off in my life. If I could turn the freeway off outside my house, I would do that, because that's the only distraction I have left in my life right now. So what I've learned from this is it's better to have 45 minutes of undistracted work time than 4 hours of distracted multitasking in your day. This is probably the number one thing that's helped me get my time management under control, because I'm getting more done in an efficient manner. So I don't have to work frantically all day. I work in this time frame and I make it work. So here's my suggestion to you. Depending on how much time you're dedicating to your business, but this is what I do right now. Find 3 45-minute windows of time in your day that you can completely disconnect all your distractions and work. I break those up throughout my day, morning, afternoon, evening, so that I can focus on different things at different times. I also find that it relaxes me, ironically, to have that quiet, disconnected work time. I'm sure you've all had those moments when you're really super focused in on something and it's almost therapeutic to your brain, because everything else shuts off and you're just thinking and getting things done. And when you get done, you're just like, oh, it's awesome. So that's how I feel after those 45-minute breaks or work breaks. So that's my suggestion to you. Find at least 3 45-minute windows you can do that. And then stick to it for a week. Like I said, the first few times for me were painful. You have to teach your brain that this is something that's gonna work for you. So tip number 4 is to be accountable to yourself. This was a hard one for me. I had a boss for the last 20 years that's told me what to do. And if I didn't do it, they told me I didn't do it. So I had someone to hold me accountable. And it's really easy to get your work done when you have someone holding you accountable. And maybe this was hard for me because that's always been the case. So when I quit my job and I came home and did this full time, it was like party time. I could do anything I wanted, anytime I wanted, and work just fit around that. And obviously that didn't work well for me. So schedule your time and then follow through. The other hard aspect for me is my husband is in law enforcement, works a lot of hours. So there are days when he's home and instead of work, I want to go play with him. I don't want to be sitting in front of the computer for my 45-minute work period. So we now work together to, this is important priority time. We have to make this happen. He does his workout while I'm doing my work time so that we can make sure that it happens every single day. So if you need help, get your spouse to hold you accountable, get a success partner to hold you accountable, but you have to be accountable to get that work time done. Because what happens is it's going to snowball, and that's when you're going to feel like your time management's out of whack. You don't do your work time today, then tomorrow you've got double to do, or you've got double the work to do in half the time. Either way, it's not going to be fun for you. If you hired somebody to work for you and they just showed up whenever they wanted to, what would you do? You'd fire them, like, without even thinking about it. So why would you not act any differently for yourself? So hold yourself accountable for your plan of success. Tip number 5. This is one I think that people struggle with, and it's to invest in yourself. The number one thing that's helped me with my time management is investing in personal development to help me implement systems that have helped me increase my time management skills. Time management is absolutely a skill that you can learn. So go learn it. There's tons of PD material that's available on this topic for free. It's one of the best sources of time management education for us is other coaches. And YouTube is packed with videos from other coaches from this team and Scotty Hobbs, we're getting Linford, tons of people, Melanie Mitro, they all have videos posted on time management and what they do to make it work for them. And what I have found is I've watched all of them because this is something that is important to me and I have struggled with. So no one system works perfectly for me, but I have gleaned nuggets from all of these coaches that have helped me. So I have my own system in place. YouTube is packed with other outside of our organization, other videos and stuff that you can watch on time management. That's all for free. But I want to strongly urge you to invest money into learning it. There are so many systems, Nicole mentioned it earlier, so many systems available to help you get your time management under control. And for what is truly a small investment, I remember when I signed up for Smart Success, it was $1,000 for both me and my husband to attend, and we got all of the modules. I thought that was an astronomical amount of money for that, and I was really worried I wasn't going to get my money's worth. But I would pay it again in a heartbeat. It was the best personal development investment I've ever made in myself. And the systems are available to implement immediately. It's all there. You get all the tools that you need. And I think it goes back to the whole concept of Beachbody in general. If we're giving challenge packs away to people, they're not as invested in getting the results they want because they don't have any skin in the game. So it goes the same for time management and personal development. If you don't have that personal investment, your results are not going to be as prevalent as they would be. When you invest money in yourself, you're going to make sure it's worth it. So there's an aspect to that I really encourage you guys to find the program that you think is going to work for you and invest in yourself. Don't be afraid to put that investment into you. Most of what I do is what I've learned from Chalene Johnson and Smart Success. Most of what I'm sharing with you today is stuff that I've learned from her, aspects that I've learned from her. The beauty of her program, I think, is she gives you the tools and then you apply it to the way it works in your life. It's not a cookie cutter thing that's going to be the same for everybody involved. It's you get the tools and then you implement it in your organization the way your organization's culture works. So please invest in yourself. Mm-hmm. So tip number 6, I don't include anything on my to-do list or in my scheduled workday that I'm going to do anyway. So workouts, personal development, posting on my personal Facebook page, none of those are things that I would add into my scheduled workday because I'm doing that no matter what. So what I'm doing is adding no matter what into my scheduled time that I've set aside for my business, and it's going to just take away my time. So when you're scheduling your time, keep in mind, those are things you're doing whether you're coaching or not. If I wasn't a coach, those are things I'd be doing anyway. So don't add them into your stressful day already. Tip number 7, prioritize your list. So you have your work schedule, you have your agenda, schedule the stuff and prioritize the stuff that you want to get done, especially if you're limited on your work hours. We all have a list of things that we want to do, and there's always going to be stuff that doesn't get done at the end of the day. So what are the most important activities that you need to do in your business? In my opinion, is inviting and recruiting are number 1, because that's what's going to push your business forward no matter what. Your second most important thing is going to be your team building and your team training to help your coaches grow their businesses. And then if you have time after you get those things done in your scheduled work time, then you have time to do blogging or website development or create more fun, challenging, exciting challenge groups, that sort of stuff. But those are going to be after you get those necessity things done. So prioritize your stuff, and then maybe filter in those extra things 3 days a week instead of 5 days a week if you can't get it all into your time. So my final tip that I wanted to share with you guys is to keep a to-do list. This is outside of your scheduled workday. This isn't your agenda of what you're going to do. This is the scheduled to-do list that you have to do every single day. This is something that I believe Shalene shared in her Car Smart series, and it's probably in her push. I haven't actually done her 30-day push. It's on my to-do list. But you can do this on pen, on paper, in your phone, whatever works for you. But it's something that you should do every single day, and it should be something that you keep with you throughout the day. Each evening before you go to bed, or in the morning before you start your day, depending on how your brain works, make your to-do list. This keeps you to-do lists are a skill that are learned, and once you establish the habit, it gets easier and more natural every single day. Just kind of wrapping up my thoughts.
Hey, Cindy.
Yeah.
Someone came on and their line wasn't muted, so I hit mute all. So we heard number 8 in your, you left off with the Car Smart CD series. I'm sorry. We missed like 3 minutes. I was frantically trying to unmute you.
Totally okay. I'll just
like a minute. So repeat number 8. Yeah.
Okay. My last tip is just to keep a to-do list. This is something that Celine, I learned it directly from her. I'm sure everybody has some system that works for them. I love her system. Every single morning or evening, depending on what works for you, sit down and make a to-do list for your day. This is above and beyond what your agenda work schedule is going to be during your scheduled work hours. This is stuff you have to accomplish in your day. It should be something that you keep with you at all times. It can be pen and paper. It can be on your phone, whatever works for you. But it should be in your hand and with you throughout the day, so that when you have an extra 15 minutes, as I mentioned before, you're not scrambling to say, oh, what can I accomplish in this time? You can pull your to-do list out and say, oh, I need to call so-and-so, and mark that off. So you're working smarter, again, not harder. Things get done more naturally this way, and you spend a lot less time scrambling. So like anything else, keeping a to-do list and working on it every single day is a learned skill, and it takes some time to get your brain to accept that habit. But when you do it, it becomes just a natural way to be more efficient. And kind of just wrapping things up, I just think for me, and this is, from my perspective, the number one thing that killed me in time management was not being prepared. We have the time, whether we want to admit it or not. When I first started, my time was more limited than it's ever been in my entire life. And I really didn't think I had the time. But when I sat down, I did. I made the time. If you have to wake up 30 minutes earlier, whatever you have to do, you can make the time. But it's working smart in the time you have that helps you with your time management. So you have to be prepared, know what you're going to be working on, know what your goals are. Going back to Shalene Johnson stuff, know what your key priority is, so that when decisions come up throughout your day, you're not wasting your time trying to decide what to do. You're just taking action to push your agenda forward.
Awesome. Thank you, Cindy, so much. Such good stuff. So while Cindy was talking, I put some personal development suggestions in the Team Passion page, like paid ones that you can pay for to do. Just a couple ideas that came off the top of my head. But do you guys have any questions for Cindy? Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question. One question I had, Cindy, was when you do your 3 45-minute work times, do you set a timer to stop yourself?
I do.
Okay.
So this was something that Shalene actually taught us at Smart Success, and 45 minutes was her suggestion. I thought it was a funny suggestion because an hour seems more natural, but she's shared there's studies that have been done that 45 minutes is the perfect amount of time for you to work to be the most efficient. And so setting a timer is a great idea because it stops you at that point. When you're at your point where your brain needs to take a break, you need to stop, take a break, and then go back at it. So I definitely set timers.
Awesome. Anybody else have a question?
My brain, if I have a timer going, I stay more focused.
Anybody?
Cindy, I have a question.
Oh.
I'm sorry. It's Shana. I think I missed some of those because my kids were talking to me. So do you mind just listing what they were again, like 1 through 8? Like 1 was have set business hours.
Yep. 2 was to have a plan or agenda for those hours.
Okay.
So you know what you're going to do when you sit down to work. And that includes, like, if one of the things on your list is invites, you know who you're going to invite.
Yeah, I heard all of that. I just didn't hear what okay, so that's your plan. Number 3 is get rid of distractions, right?
Yep. Number 4 is to be accountable to your time and to yourself.
Okay. 5 is invest money.
Yourself, both time and money. Number 6 is to not include things on your list you're going to be doing anyway.
Yep.
Number 7 is to prioritize the things that you're doing in your time. So
Okay.
that most important things get done first.
Okay. Thank you.
Number 8 is to do a to-do list.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Tips for identifying invites ahead of time. So, I don't know who said that because it flashed off my screen, but tips for knowing who to invite ahead of time. So we all keep a list of the people that, like, we have a big list that we're always talking about. That's where I start with my invites, is I always just add to my list. So in that last half an hour of my day's changed a little bit now. Obviously, I'm not limited to 2 hours a day. I work about 4 to 6 hours a day, depending on what I want to. The beauty of doing this full time. So I have a little bit more time to add some of the extra things in. The last thing I do at the end of the day, I make my to-do list and I make my invites for the next day. I like doing it this way because it allows me to think about them throughout the evening and the next morning, so I know what I want to say when I invite them. But I go through my list, and first of all, I check Facebook to see if anybody's posting anything that would naturally allow me to invite them. If someone's posting that they're getting ready for a wedding or this or that, then it opens the door for that conversation. So I do scroll through Facebook to see if there's anybody that would be a natural invite that I could do. Otherwise, I really believe in, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I kind of let my list guide me. If a name jumps out at me, even for no particular reason, that's the person I'm going to invite. I think sometimes people are more ready at certain times, and so just that good energy in the universe to let you know that's the person you need to be talking to. So I try to always come up with 3 to 5 when I'm pushing to hit a certain rank or income goal. I bump that to 10 or 20, and I just try to let it happen naturally. I really believe in natural invites.
I would bet that this is where a lot of you are wasting your time, because you're sitting there going, who do I invite? This means you need a master contact list. So listen to me closely. I only have ever in my entire business have had 2 lists. I don't use the business activity tracker. I don't have Excel spreadsheets. I don't do all of that. I have a contact list, which always has 100 or more names on it. And I always have a 10 in play. And these are the people that I'm constantly, like, that are saying, yes, I'm interested, tell me more, and I'm sharing videos and we're talking about stuff. I always have 10 people like that I'm working with. So every day when I sit down to work, my master contact list is next to me, so I just choose the first 10. I don't prejudge. I don't question it. I don't go, oh, yeah, no, they don't have money. Oh, yeah, no, I don't think I like that person. Oh, yeah, she was a total bitch in high school. I don't do that. I just go. I just have a list and I go. 10 names, The first 10 are invites. That's it. You're making this way more complicated. So how do I, and I do this every 6 months. It's different for me now because everyone comes from my like page, but up until 6 months ago, this was my 5.5 years of work, 5 years. I sit down every 6 months and I make a new list. It includes my Facebook list. It includes my Christmas card list. It includes, I pull out the memory jogger and I would sit down with Mark and I would say, okay, Mark, who do we know in this category? And I would just go through silly categories. Who has red hair? Who did I meet at the park? Whose mom drives a minivan? Like whatever. Just use that memory jogger because it does things, who's an accountant, who's a hairdresser, and so if you go, oh, well, I've already asked my hairdresser. Okay, pretty sure you know 10 or 12 hairdressers, right? Or your friends know hairdressers or whatever. So that you always have to be working off of a master contact list that has at least 100 names on it. MJ Durkin said this my first 6 months in the business. I heard him say, most people think they have a closing problem when in fact they just have a list problem. Meaning, and he took us through the exercise and I made a list and all I had was 30 names on it. And I was I was scrambling to hit Success Club 5 by the 30th of every month. So when I made a list of 100, Success Club 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 came a hell of a lot easier.
You have to not limit yourself too. I think one of the things my coaches do is 100 names sounds so intimidating to them, when in reality, 100 names is incredibly easy. You know so many people, you can come up with 100 names like that, really. And it's not about 100 people you're going to invite now. Those names are going to jog more names. That's what the memory jogger does. Those 100 people are going to lead you to another 100 people who are going to lead you to another 100 people. So just sit down and just write it out. It's almost like a journaling activity.
As soon as you do this, you guys are going to have the biggest weight lifted off your shoulders. I mean, I've trained on this hundreds of times. So some of you may be hearing it for the 5th time, but it sounds like the first. It's all good. What's the rule? It takes us 8 times, 12 times to hear something before it sinks in. All good. So yes, it's your list. It's just because then those invites. So Becky just asked on prioritizing your list. The first one is invites. It's the first thing you need to do when you wake up. And if you wake up and you go like, I have no idea who I'm inviting every single day, then this business must suck right now for you, right?
And you get nothing done. I mean, that's
must be so hard. Yeah.
So the first 3 things I prioritize are invites are always the first thing I do. And for 2 reasons. One, it's the hardest thing to do because you're putting yourself out there. So it's the first thing I want off my list that's the scary part is inviting people. So just get it done. And then once you get into that habit, it's not scary anymore. And then let me find where I wrote that down because I had written them.
I think it was recruiting.
Yeah, recruiting. For me, invites and recruiting are almost the same thing because I always invite to the business before I invite to my challenge groups. So recruiting and inviting and team building. So that would be training or whatever it takes to build my team. But those are the first 3 things that I focus on when I do my focus work time is I focus on my business and recruiting for my organization, and then I help my coaches with them.
Anything else?
I have a comment.
Yes, Dale.
I'm going back to number 1. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, a little soft, but yeah.
Okay, actually, let me see if I can make it louder. Is that better?
No, you're just a soft talker, so it's all good.
Okay, all right. The having set work hours was like a key point for me because I work full time as well. And I'm trying to fit in, when I get to work at my lunch hour, but then when I get messages constantly through the day, you feel that need and that stress to, oh my God, if I don't respond immediately, you're going to lose something. And I have never allowed myself to set the hours where I say I'm going to work for an hour here, an hour here, but I get distracted through the day because I'm getting messages throughout the day, and I want to stop and then redirect. And it's such a time waster and a time sucker. Like I get, you spiral, absolutely. So I'm so glad to hear that, you know, something that didn't work for you before, you figured out a plan for that, because I think that that's a lot of people, especially if you are working outside the house, trying to prioritize where and when you can fit your business and your kids and, you know, your driving time and what's time, best time management. And that's huge, absolutely huge. And even if I say I do it, I still find that at 3 o'clock, when I'm not supposed to be working on Beachbody, I have, you know, spiraled off to do something else Beachbody related, and my work is suffering, and in turn Beachbody is suffering because I'm not giving anything my full attention. So it's
Thing I
big.
did to offset that feeling when I first started this, because I would still get messages in it, you know, when I'm working, and I couldn't respond right then, and I would feel like, oh no, they're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I created text, like, I can't think of like a text that I could just auto send all the time that just said, thank you for your interest. I can't get back to you right now, but at noon I start my work hours and I'll respond to you then. I look forward to talking to you. And I would just send it send automatically or in an email. And that way they know I'm not ignoring them. They're not going to go. If they do go somewhere else, you don't want them anyway because they're super impatient.
Right.
So it would just kind of mentally, for me, it just made me feel better going, I'm taking care of them. I'm taking care of me. And then I'll be able to do it when I'm on my time.
Yeah. No, this is great. Thank you so much.
Cindy, another question. With the master contact list, when you invite 10 people to the business or challenge group, have you already formed with them, or is this a first conversation?
So inviting, the definition of inviting for me might be different than it is for some people. And it's maybe because of where the state, when I first started my business, I could just cold invite people because I had such a huge warm market that the relationships were already there. For me now, when I say invite, that means I'm starting conversations with people. It may not be about Beachbody right now, and it might take weeks to get to the actual invite sending, but I am starting at least 10 to 20 conversations with people, making connections with them, opening the door to get them to the invite point. So I am not necessarily, now I am, because after doing that for so many months, I am always at that invite point with at least 10 people, but it could just be connecting with 10 people with the intention of sending an invite.
I had a newer coach send me a message. She messages me every day, and she, sends me her 5 to 10 names, and she was getting nowhere. And so we went through that process. So all I said to her, I said, okay, for the next 3 days, please just send 10 to 20 messages a day saying Happy New Year.
Right.
She did that, and what ended up happening is she had a 10 in play almost instantly, because people were like, hey, I've been seeing what you're doing, and they just started asking her. So yes, take the time. But if you're doing, like, I don't recommend doing like 7 days of forming and never actually sending an invite, because that, you've got to get some action in there. So your actual invites should always be from your warm market. So when we say do 3 to 5 invites a day, the minimum is 3 actual invites, and then yes, have 10 more conversations, because those are going to be so much more fun. Do your scary invites first, and then just have 10 fun conversations saying Happy New Year, what's going on, and that's gonna feel better.
And without fail, they ask you something about what
Yeah.
you do, and it opens the door. So, and then I think I saw something pop up about 100 people if they're random. I didn't see the whole thing because
Yeah, it says when you say 100 people, are they random people or friends and family members?
They're both. For me, anybody it's whoever pops into my head. It might start off with family members, and then I'm thinking of my family member's neighbor, and then I'm thinking of my grocery store clerk that I talk to every day when I'm checking out, and then I'm thinking of, the person I saw on Facebook who said she wanted to lose 10 pounds. Like, just, it's anybody that pops into my head. And I think that's the beauty of the memory jogger exercise, is it makes you think outside the box, not just, if you're only thinking family members and close friends, then you're going to have really fun 3 months, and then you're going to have a really difficult time after that. It won't be fun.
Can someone do me a favor and find the memory jogger in your FAQ and upload it to the Team Passion page? so that you guys can find it, because that'll help answer your question. The memory jogger just prompts you to exactly who to put on the list.
I loved your category thing. Actually, I hadn't done that before, but that's fun.
Yeah, we could do if someone's super creative, we could make up a scavenger hunt and say, okay, on Mondays, everybody invite someone with red hair, or we could do a fun little chart of different things that we could add to that memory jogger, so that could prompt some things too.
It's one of those things, I think, that it's like when you're looking at buying a new car, like all of a sudden you see that car everywhere you go. So if you're thinking about inviting somebody with red hair, you're going to be shocked how many redheads you know. Like they're going to be out of the woodwork. So it's a great idea.
Yeah. One more question, because I know it's getting late. For team building and training, do you use Team Passion trainings, or do you create your own trainings?
I use Team Passion trainings almost totally because I truly believe in not reinventing the wheel. I might tweak them to fit my team. My team's small right now, so it's not quite as expansive as Team Passion. But if something's working and it's already there, I just go with that. So, and that goes with even Beachbody, like Coach Basics, all of that. If someone's put that much work into creating tools for us to use, then just use their tools. Why put that much work into creating something similar?
Do you, so you lead with the business invite. Does that allow you to then, when they say no, say, well, how about my challenge group? Does that happen?
It does. And what it usually does is ends up to being a discount coach, because I've already planted the seed of, well, this, and then you can decide if you want to coach later. Because usually people don't say, no, I don't want to coach. They say they don't think they'll be good at it. They don't think they can do it. It's more personal fear factors than they absolutely aren't interested in doing it. I find the opposite. Most people, I think, would love to do it. They just don't think they can. So I do lead with the business invite. And then when they say, I don't think I can, I'm like, well, why don't you just, join the challenge group, see what it's like for 30 days or 60 days. We'll sign you as a discount coach so you save all your money. And then if you decide you want to step in and do it, you can, because that's exactly what I did.
Great. And they are requesting you to put up your laminated to-do list, a picture of that in Team Passion, if you could do that.
Please. I can do that. It'll probably be tomorrow, because I promised my kids a treat if they did
not. Doesn't have to be right this second, for sure. All right, well, thank you, Cindy, and you guys. She's in Team Passion, so if another question comes up, just feel free to tag her, and when her next 45-minute session arises, she will answer you. All right, have a good night, everybody. I'll get this recording up before I close my eyes. Good night, guys. Mama?